Oliver at 11 kilometers per hour at 2.5% incline. The video we didn't go through on the final session. So what I'll do is I'll identify areas that we found out before and that we've looked to improve after. So if we start with how we were landing to start with was heel to toe. Now the 3 points of contact, we can go heel to toe, which is 2 points, and this can cause us to break, which I'll come on to later. Then we have midfoot, where we've got the heel and toe landing at the same time, and then forefoot being the fastest because we've got 1 point in contact. So we had that with the right before, and after before on the left we had again heel toe. But what we had on this point was a leading with a high toe, so this would cause the foot to slap down, which puts pressure on the anterior tibialis, the shin muscle. Okay, so we see the gap there, and then when it comes down, it will look to slap down onto the ground. So that's what we had with foot position. So if we look at after, we can see now what we can see there on the after video on the right hand side in the England shirt, where we've got a toe and a very low heel position. That's excellent transformation on the right side, and then as the left foot comes in, again we're landing forefoot with a low heel, which is excellent position. So it's really good changes Oliver has made in terms of that aspect. So that's what we looked at in terms of how we were landing. So if we look at now the position of where we are landing, all right, before that left foot, we're landing down ahead of our centre of gravity. So we've got the line that comes down on the back knee, and then the gap between the knee indicates the overstride. Overstride means we're reaching further out ahead of us than we want to be, and that's what causes the break. So we get in this position the body starting to fall forwards from the ear and the hip. We can see the gap between the head and the line going through where we would want the shoulder. And now the problem with overstride is that running is stressful as it can be stressful as it is, and when we run efficiently we're putting 2 to 3 times our body weight. When we're inefficient, so we're making that overstride, we're in contact with the ground longer, which means we're going to be putting 5 to 8 times our body weight through us. So that's what we had before on that left. And if we switch to after, we'll take it through to there. We've got after. So after, we're now placing down under our hip. So we're about, and we can see that when there's no overstride because there's no gap between the knee. So we come through that dot, and we've got that heel in that position there, whereby we are right underneath our hip, and we've got the line going through the ear, the shoulder, the hip, and down. And because we're underneath our body now, Oliver is more efficient because he's going to be able to maintain speed because he's landing closer to his centre of gravity, and he's going to be in contact with the ground less, which means he's going to be in the air more. So if we take the flight time through, we can just see there we're leaving the ground, we're in the air for longer. So if we just take it back to the after before, and we look at the right leg this time. So there's a right leg coming in there, we had that overstride again, where we had that body leaning forwards, and let's take the left line out, and we got that gap between the knees. And remember, we were looking to have no gap between there because that ensures the body does not break. And when we break, it's a stress. 70% stress is below the knee, and the ankle, knee, and hip takes the majority of that stress because it will travel upwards. And with the forward lean, we're not using the muscles we want to. We want to be using our glutes and hamstrings. But in this before, we were using more hip flexors and quadriceps. So if we switch to after, and again as the foot comes in, there is no overstride. We're very consistent, and we know there's no overstride because we can see the gap between the knee. Body position is extremely tall in here, and we're right underneath that centre of gravity. So that is a superb transformation that Oliver has made in terms of eliminating the overstride. And the reason why that's come into place is because when we looked at our feet, we were looking at the heels. So with the heels, when the foot leaves the ground before, so if we go back to before in the Liverpool kit, when we got to mid-swing phase, we had the heel lower than the knee crease. When we're working at slower speeds, running at slower speeds, we want the heel to be coming up to just above the knee crease. When we're working at faster speeds, we're looking to bring it up to our glutes and hamstrings, because that's what fires up our engines, which will propel us forward. So that's what we had on the right leg. And if we have a look at after, and if we switch between after, we can see now we've got that heel right up to the glutes and the hamstrings. We're leading with a circle, and I'll show that in just a few moments of how that foot is travelling now. If we have a look at the before, and we look at that left, so we had the left in mid-swing, which is here, was a little bit lower than the right. We see the difference, which was down there. If we look at the left foot now as it comes through, here into swing phase. So in that swing phase, it's not as high as the right side, but it is in line, not far away from that position, whereby we're at top of the hamstring. So again, which tells me that Oliver is now using the glutes and hamstrings, the power muscles, which will drive the movement forward. It's more efficient afterwards because there's fewer braking forces going through the stride, so we're not putting 5 to 8 times our body weight through us. We're doing that 2 to 3, which is excellent. We're not spending as much time on the ground because of the flight times increased. And if we just show that in terms of two comparisons with how the foot is cycling. If I just put in before, and you'll note here where we see the overstride, whereby the foot is going to be landing outside of that circle, and because now we've got the heels coming up higher, we've got increased flight time, and the foot will be looking to land inside that circle. So you can see where the foot will follow the pattern. We play it through. So before the foot was very low. After, we're now drawing round that circle. So if we just look at low before, as soon as the foot left the ground, it's back in contact. After, as soon as the foot leaves the ground, there's a pause before it comes back round again, and we've got more momentum. It looks faster, it looks more efficient, it looks more economical. So excellent improvement on the heel cycle. Moving on to the last aspect we looked at, and that was the arms. The arms give us rhythm, balance and control. Before, we had a good arm angle at 90 degrees. What we did have before was those arms, limited arm drive. The arms give us coordination with the legs. There was a little bit of movement, but the movement was more coming across. You can just see it wasn't getting any higher than the chest. Now if we look at after, so after, we're getting that hand nicely up to shoulder. So we're going hip to shoulder where we refined it. The arm angle, got the elbow driving backwards, which is excellent. And we've got that other hand just coming to hip, and that wrist facing nicely to that hip. So that's really good improvement. If we play it onto the next side, the left, and again, we've got the arm driving backwards. got that line up to shoulder, so we've really adapted that technique beautifully to just go hip to shoulder, and then we've got that elbow really driving backwards, whereby we can see the gap between the elbow and the ribs, and again that has helped to pull the posture up and has led to greater economy, greater efficiency in Oliver's running. It's really awesome improvement. And there's definitely fluidity within it. All in all, great improvement, Oliver.